the world watched in horror. A plume of smoke, a horrifying descent. Flight 226, once a symbol of hope and connection, transformed into a fiery tragedy. The official story? Engine failure, a tragic but understandable accident. But what if the official story was wrong? What if hidden within the wreckage, within the mangled metal and wires of the black box, lay a truth far more sinister? This is the story of Flight 226, a story of betrayal, of hidden motives, and of a truth that refuses to stay buried. It began like any other flight. Passengers boarded, filled with anticipation for their destinations, families embarking on vacations, businessmen chasing deals, their dreams, their hopes, soaring high above the world. Then, the unthinkable. A distress call, a chilling silence, and then, the devastating news. Flight 226 had vanished from radar, crashing into the unforgiving Earth. The world mourned, families shattered, questions lingered. How could this happen? What went wrong? Experts descended upon the crash site, determined to piece together the puzzle of Flight 226. Initial reports pointed to a catastrophic engine failure, a tragic accident, case closed. But as investigators dug deeper, a chill ran down their spines. Something wasn't right. Anomalies in the wreckage, discrepancies in the flight data. Whispers of a darker possibility began to surface. Could it be? Was it possible that Flight 226 wasn't an accident at all? Could this be a case of cold-blooded murder? May 12th dawned like any other spring day. Birds chirped, children played. The sun, a beacon of warmth, promised a day of ordinary pleasures. Unbeknownst to those below, high above, a tragedy was about to unfold. Flight 226, en route from a bustling metropolis to a popular vacation destination, hummed with the routine sounds of air travel. The drone of the engines, the murmur of conversation, the clinking of ice in plastic cups. A symphony of normalcy, soon to be shattered. At 10:32 a.m. without warning, disaster struck. Flight 226, once a tiny speck against the vast canvas of the sky, vanished from radar screens. Air traffic controllers, their voices tight with urgency, tried to re-establish contact. Silence. Panic rippled through the room. Something was terribly wrong. News of the crash spread like wildfire, leaving a trail of shock and disbelief in its wake. Reporters, hungry for information, descended upon the crash site, a once peaceful field now scarred with debris. Witnesses, their voices trembling with emotion, recounted the horrifying spectacle. It looked like a falling star, one woman sobbed, her hand clutching her chest. Except it wasn't a star, it was a plane, and it was on fire. A farmer, his face etched with a lifetime of working the land, spoke of a deafening roar, followed by a bone-jarring impact that shook his farmhouse to its core. Amidst the chaos and grief, a single question echoed, why? The recovery effort was both painstaking and heartbreaking. Every piece of twisted metal, every charred suitcase held a story, a life tragically cut short. But it was the black box, that unassuming orange rectangle, that held the key to understanding the disaster. Retrieved from the wreckage, the black box, a silent witness to the tragedy, was rushed to a specialized lab. Inside, investigators huddled, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of monitors, as they prepared to unlock the secrets held within. The air crackled with anticipation as the audio recording began to play. The hum of the engines, the pilot's calm voice. And then, a sound that sent chills down their spines, a sudden jarring noise followed by a chilling silence. The black box had spoken, but its message was far from clear. The initial assessment pointed to a catastrophic engine failure. A tragic, but all too common explanation. Yet, as the investigation progressed, a nagging sense of unease settled over the team. Certain pieces didn't fit. The damage to the engine, while extensive, didn't fully explain the suddenness and violence of the crash. The pilot, a seasoned professional with an impeccable record, made no distress call, no attempt to correct course. It was as if the plane had simply fallen from the sky. Whispers of sabotage, initially dismissed as outlandish, began to circulate. Could someone have tampered with the plane? Was it possible that Flight 226, a symbol of modern travel, had become a weapon of unimaginable destruction? The investigation, once a straightforward inquiry into a tragic accident, had taken a sinister turn. The word hung heavy in the air, casting a pall over the investigation. Sabotage. It seemed impossible, unthinkable, and yet the evidence, or rather the lack thereof, pointed towards a darkness that defied explanation. The engine failure, initially considered the cause, now seemed a symptom. The fuel lines, meticulously examined, showed no signs of malfunction. The fuel itself, tested repeatedly, revealed no contaminants. It was as if the plane, starved of its lifeblood, had been deliberately forced to fall from the sky. The investigators, their faces etched with a mixture of determination and disbelief, found themselves in uncharted territory. This wasn't just an accident investigation, it was a hunt for a ghost, a phantom saboteur who seemed to vanish into thin air. The question was no longer what happened, but who had brought Flight 226 crashing down. Every bolt, every wire, every piece of debris became a clue, a potential breadcrumb leading to the truth. The flight data recorder, its memory banks painstakingly deciphered, painted a picture of normalcy, right up until the sudden, inexplicable silence. The cockpit voice recorder, a chilling audio tapestry of the final moments, revealed no distress calls, no panicked scramble to regain control. Only the steady hum of the engines, followed by an eerie silence that spoke volumes. The investigators, their eyes weary but determined, meticulously pieced together the fragments of information. They scoured maintenance logs, interviewed ground crew, and analyzed air traffic control recordings, searching for any anomaly, any deviation from the norm. Slowly, painstakingly, a picture began to emerge, a picture that hinted at a chilling possibility. This was no accident. Every flight carries a story, a tapestry woven from the lives of its passengers. Flight 226 was no different. Businessmen on their way to close deals, families embarking on long-awaited vacations, students returning home after a semester abroad. Each name on the manifest represented a life, a story now tragically cut short. The investigators, their task as much about justice as it was about truth, meticulously scrutinized the passenger list. Were any of these individuals targets? Did any of them have enemies, secrets, or pasts that could have made them victims of such a calculated act? The task was daunting, like searching for a needle in a haystack, but they couldn't afford to overlook any detail. Every connection, every coincidence could be a vital clue. The lives of the passengers, once separate threads, were now intertwined, bound together by tragedy and the chilling possibility that one of them, or someone connected to them, held the key to unraveling the mystery of Flight 226. As the investigation deepened, the team turned their attention to the past, searching for echoes of the present. Had there been similar incidents, unexplained crashes attributed to mechanical failure that, in retrospect, hinted at something more sinister? They delved into archives, poring over decades-old reports, their fingers tracing the faded ink of long-forgotten investigations. They interviewed retired investigators, their memories a treasure trove of hard-won experience, hoping to glean insights from their years on the beat. Slowly, a pattern began to emerge. Not a clear, definitive connection, but a series of whispers, of near misses, and unexplained incidents that, viewed through the lens of Flight 226, took on a new unsettling significance. The past, it seemed, had something to say, if only they could decipher its cryptic message. What began as a straightforward investigation into a tragic accident had transformed into a tangled web of intrigue. The more the investigators uncovered, the more complex the puzzle became, each piece revealing new layers of mystery. The passenger manifest, once a simple list of names, now resembled a spiderweb of relationships, each individual connected to a network of family, friends, and colleagues. The investigators, like detectives in a noir film, found themselves navigating a shadowy underworld of hidden motives and secret agendas. Every interview, every document, every whispered rumor seemed to deepen the mystery. Who stood to gain from the downing of Flight 226? Was it a crime of passion, a calculated act of revenge, or something far more sinister, a conspiracy that stretched far beyond the wreckage scattered across that desolate field? The truth, they knew, lay hidden somewhere within the wreckage, within the tangled threads of the investigation. It was their duty, their obsession, to find it. Deep within the labyrinthine corridors of the FBI's forensics lab, a team of cryptographers huddled over an enigma. It wasn't a piece of the plane's wreckage, nor a line from the black box recording. It was a note, discovered tucked away in the belongings of a passenger on Flight 226. The note, filled with a seemingly nonsensical sequence of letters and numbers, appeared at first glance to be the ramblings of a troubled mind. But something about the methodical arrangement, the almost rhythmic repetition of certain characters, hinted at a hidden order, a message waiting to be deciphered. Days turned into nights as the team, fueled by coffee and a relentless pursuit of answers, worked tirelessly to crack the code. They tried every known cipher, every algorithm in their arsenal, but the message remained stubbornly indecipherable. The note, a silent scream from beyond the grave, held secrets that could unlock the mystery of Flight 226. But would they be able to break the code before it was too late? As the cryptographers toiled away, the investigation team uncovered a trail of financial transactions that led them to the doorstep of a high-stakes blackmail scheme. One of the passengers, a prominent CEO with a squeaky clean public image, had been living a double life, his seemingly perfect world built on a foundation of lies and deceit. Anonymous emails, traced to an offshore account, threatened to expose the CEO's darkest secrets unless a hefty sum of money was delivered. The timing of the emails, just days before the crash, was no coincidence. Had the CEO, desperate to protect his reputation and his fortune, resorted to desperate measures? Had he orchestrated the downing of Flight 226 to silence his extortionist and bury his secrets forever? The Blackmail Plot, a tangled web of greed and desperation, offered a motive, a possible explanation for the inexplicable. But was it the truth, or merely another layer of deception in a case that seemed to defy logic and reason? The possibility of sabotage raised a chilling question: how? The answer, it seemed, lay not in the skies but in the inner workings of the airport itself, a place where hundreds of employees, each with their own stories, their own secrets, toiled behind the scenes. The investigators, their suspicions growing, turned their attention to the ground crew, the mechanics, the baggage handlers, the countless individuals who had access to the plane in the hours leading up to the crash. One name in particular kept surfacing: Mark Jenkins, a disgruntled mechanic with a history of disciplinary issues and a personal vendetta against the airline. Jenkins, it turned out, had been fired just days before the crash, his termination stemming from an incident involving safety violations. Had Jenkins, driven by rage and a desire for revenge, sabotaged Flight 226, transforming a symbol of hope and progress into a weapon of mass destruction? While the investigation team chased shadows and whispers, the answer, it turned out, lay hidden in plain sight. The note, that cryptic message that had stumped the cryptographers, was finally deciphered, not through complex algorithms or sophisticated software, but through a simple substitution cipher, the kind taught in high schools across the country. "Stop the flight." Those were the words that jumped out from the screen, sending a chill down the spines of everyone in the room. The message, it seemed, wasn't meant for the authorities, nor for some shadowy organization. It was a desperate plea for help, a warning scribbled in haste by someone who knew that disaster was imminent. But who? And why hadn't they come forward sooner? With each passing moment, the mystery of Flight 226 deepened, the truth becoming more elusive, more shrouded in layers of deception and despair. The blackmail plot, the disgruntled employee, the cryptic note, were they all interconnected pieces of a larger puzzle, or were they merely red herrings, distractions designed to lead the investigators astray? The weight of the investigation, the knowledge that every second that ticked by could bring them closer to the truth or further from it, weighed heavily on the team. They had come too far, sacrificed too much to give up now. The answer, they knew, lay somewhere within the wreckage, within the tangled web of relationships, within the hearts of those who had boarded that fateful flight. They just had to find it before it was too late. The pieces of the puzzle were scattered across the hangar floor, each one a silent testament to the tragedy of Flight 226. The investigators, their faces etched with fatigue and frustration, circled the wreckage like vultures, their eyes searching for any missed detail, any clue that might finally unlock the secrets of that fateful day. The official report citing catastrophic engine failure lay heavy on their minds, a bitter pill to swallow. The evidence, or lack thereof, pointed to a mechanical malfunction, a tragic but all too common occurrence in the world of aviation. But something about it felt wrong, a nagging doubt that refused to be silenced. The black box recordings, analyzed and reanalyzed, offered no solace. The pilot's final words, calm and professional, betrayed no hint of trouble, no indication that anything was amiss. The engines, those powerful beasts that propelled the plane through the air, had simply ceased to function, their fiery demise a silent scream that echoed through the skies. The ghosts of Flight 226 whispered in the silence, their voices a chorus of unanswered questions. Was it a tragic accident, a cruel twist of fate? Or was there something more sinister at play, a darkness lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be exposed? The pieces of the puzzle were scattered across the hangar floor, each one a silent testament to the tragedy of Flight 226. The investigators, their faces etched with fatigue and frustration, circled the wreckage like vultures, their eyes searching for any missed detail, any clue that might finally unlock the secrets of that fateful day. The official report citing catastrophic engine failure lay heavy on their minds, a bitter pill to swallow. The evidence, or lack thereof, pointed to a mechanical malfunction, a tragic but all too common occurrence in the world of aviation. But something about it felt wrong, a nagging doubt that refused to be silenced. The black box recordings, analyzed and reanalyzed, offered no solace. The pilot's final words, calm and professional, betrayed no hint of trouble, no indication that anything was amiss. The engines, those powerful beasts that propelled the plane through the air, had simply ceased to function, their fiery demise a silent scream that echoed through the skies. The ghosts of Flight 226 whispered in the silence, their voices a chorus of unanswered questions. Was it a tragic accident, a cruel twist of fate? Or was there something more sinister at play, a darkness lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be exposed? The pieces of the puzzle were scattered across the hangar floor, each one a silent testament to the tragedy of Flight 226. The investigators, their faces etched with fatigue and frustration, circled the wreckage like vultures, their eyes searching for any missed detail, any clue that might finally unlock the secrets of that fateful day. The official report citing catastrophic engine failure lay heavy on their minds, a bitter pill to swallow. The evidence, or lack thereof, pointed to a mechanical malfunction, a tragic but all too common occurrence in the world of aviation. But something about it felt wrong, a nagging doubt that refused to be silenced. The black box recordings, analyzed and reanalyzed, offered no solace. The pilot's final words, calm and professional, betrayed no hint of trouble, no indication that anything was amiss. The engines, those powerful beasts that propelled the plane through the air, had simply ceased to function, their fiery demise a silent scream that echoed through the skies. The ghosts of Flight 226 whispered in the silence, their voices a chorus of unanswered questions. Was it a tragic accident, a cruel twist of fate? Or was there something more sinister at play, a darkness lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be exposed? The pieces of the puzzle were scattered across the hangar floor, each one. Despite the mounting pressure to attribute the crash to mechanical failure, a small group of investigators refused to let go of the sabotage theory. The evidence, though circumstantial, was too compelling to ignore. The blackmail plot against the CEO, the disgruntled mechanic with a grudge, the cryptic note found among the wreckage, each thread, though seemingly insignificant on its own, wove together a tapestry of suspicion. The investigation team, divided by their conflicting theories, found themselves at an impasse. The pressure to close the case, to provide answers and closure to the grieving families was immense. But the truth, elusive and multifaceted, refused to be rushed. The weight of the evidence, though inconclusive, hung heavy in the air. Was it enough to justify pursuing a full-blown criminal investigation, or were they chasing ghosts, their judgment clouded by grief and a relentless pursuit of justice? The fate of Flight 226, and the truth behind its tragic descent, hung in the balance. The break in the case came from an unexpected source. Mark Jenkins, the disgruntled mechanic, confessed to sabotaging Flight 226. His confession, detailed and chilling, sent shockwaves through the investigation team. He described how he had tampered with the plane's engines, his actions fueled by a potent cocktail of rage, resentment, and a desire for revenge. Jenkins's confession, though seemingly a victory for the investigators, raised more questions than it answered. His motives, though understandable, seemed insufficient to explain the calculated precision of his actions. The investigation team, suspicious of his sudden change of heart, dug deeper, determined to uncover the truth behind his confession. Their suspicions proved to be well-founded. Jenkins, it turned out, had been coerced into confessing, his silence bought with the promise of protecting someone he loved. The mastermind behind the sabotage remained at large, their identity shrouded in shadow. Jenkins, a pawn in a much larger game, had become both victim and perpetrator, his life forever entwined with the tragedy of Flight 226. The investigation into the crash of Flight 226 closed with Mark Jenkins's conviction, his confession sealing his fate. The families, though relieved, were left with unease. The truth remained out of reach, hidden beneath layers of deception. The mastermind was never brought to justice. Their identity and motives remained a mystery, a chilling reminder that some secrets refuse to be unearthed. The investigation closed, the news cycle moved on. Life, as it always does, continued. But for those who lost loved ones on Flight 226, the silence was deafening. The official explanation, a tragic accident caused by engine failure, rang hollow in their ears. They remembered the laughter, the dreams, the promises whispered in the hurried goodbyes at the airport gate. Those memories, once a source of comfort, now served as a painful reminder of the void left by their loved one's absence. The unanswered questions lingered like a persistent ache. Who was behind the cryptic note? Was Mark Jenkins truly a pawn, manipulated into taking the fall? And what dark secrets died with the passengers of Flight 226? Secrets that might have unraveled a conspiracy far larger than anyone imagined? The families of the victims, forever bound by tragedy, searched for solace in their shared grief, clinging to the hope that one day, the truth, no matter how painful, would finally come to light. The crash of Flight 226 served as a chilling reminder that even in the vast expanse of the sky, danger lurks. It exposed the vulnerabilities of our transportation systems, the fragility of life, and the enduring power of secrets. The next time you board a plane, as you fasten your seatbelt and listen to the pre-flight safety instructions, you might feel a shiver run down your spine. The world outside your window, once a symbol of freedom and adventure, might seem a little less certain, a little more menacing. The story of Flight 226, though fictional, reflects the very real anxieties we grapple with in an age of uncertainty. It reminds us that truth can be elusive, justice incomplete, and that some questions, like shadows in the sky, may never fully disappear. And so, the tale of Flight 226 ends not with a definitive answer, but with a question that continues to echo in the silence. How safe are the skies truly when the darkness we carry within ourselves takes flight?